those are the movies that we saw this weekend. Let us know what you think of them.
Are any of those movies going to be in the top 10 of your 2019 movies?
Well, only Escape Room is 2019, right? Holmes and Watson goes to the bottom 10 of 2018. And Welcome to Marwin, well, we'll find out if it's on my top 10 in 2018, because that's what we're going to move on to now. We're going to give you, at this moment, our top 10 movies of 2018.
Woo! The best movies of the year!
I mean, I'm always excited for this.
These movies are the best movies, and you cannot dispute them. You cannot comment if we're wrong. We are right. Our opinions matter more than yours.
Yes, it does.
I'm putting my foot down.
And remember, these are our opinions. I'll tell you what the kind of my thought process behind these movies. They're not necessarily the movies I enjoy. They're not necessarily the best plot-wise movies of the year. They're the movies I enjoyed the most throughout the year.
Yes, same.
If I was to give you a list of top 10 best movies of the year, it would be a different list. Granted, spoiler alert, my number ones would be the same.
Same.
But these are what I enjoyed the most of the year, and I'll tell you why I enjoyed them.
Bumblebee would be my number one movie.
Wasn't it on your list for bottom 10?
We just got into this. I told you that the first 5 minutes is number one, and then the rest
is number one of the worst.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 10 movie of 2018 was Bohemian Rhapsody. Not Rhapsody.
I love that song. We're doing movies, not music, not songs. And that song didn't come out of that in 2018.
It came out. Yeah, that's fair. Bohemian Rhapsody was. I love Queen. I guess I should start with
Mama.
that. Do you know what that song's about?
It's what is it about?
It's about suicide.
Ooh, that's very dark.
It is, and you know what? One thing I liked about the movie, I liked the movie when they're actually talking about what the song's about. It's just words and craziness that Freddie Mercury kind of stops. He thinks about it, and you know what it's about, and he kind of infers it without actually saying it. I really like that aspect. I thought the movie was just great storytelling. You know, I learned a lot about Freddie Mercury. There are things that I knew he died from AIDS. I knew about. I remember. Oh, I don't remember Live Aid, but I remember reading about Live Aid or watching Live Aid, not live, but after. But that he left Queen for a bit. I didn't know that. I didn't know that like how Queen evolved and how they were all kind of misfits. Mm-hmm. I didn't know aspects of like his family life. There was a lot of really interesting things I learned in that movie, and I love the music. As you talked about, like Queen's one of the greatest rock bands of all time.
Yeah, buddy.
It'd probably be the third. If I could see any band living or dead, it would probably be number 3 behind the Beatles and Frank Sinatra, and then it would probably be Queen.
Sinatra's a band.
Well, singer, any band or singer, whatever. Rat Pack, fine.
Yeah,
jeez,
that's what I thought.
So that's my number 10 movie, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Okay, my number 10 movie is Game Night. This is the only comedy on the list. I really enjoyed this. From the people that brought us Horrible Bosses, Rachel McAdams is great in this. I really like the comedy. I like the competitiveness. They always playing games, and they still. It's kind of like Escape Room, where they don't realize that this is a game until it's about too late. But I find those kind of things are a lot more funny as a comedy than as a weird drama, thriller, scary movie type of thing. Because
with a comedy, with that tone, you can your believability changes, right? When you make something serious, you have to be more true to it. Yeah. Whereas it's like Vice we talked about last week, right? Mm-hmm. When you've chosen to do it in more of comedic, you have more license to be creative.
Yeah.
Because the tone is very different.
100%. And do you want me to go to my number 9?
Yeah, you're number 9. We snaked this.
My number 9 is BlacKkKlansman. So, really enjoyed this movie. It was an interesting take. It was very funny. I really enjoyed the aspect. Like there's a lot of irony in this, and it was hilarious. Like one of the parts, the guy's like, "I can tell that you're a white man. It's the way you pronounce your R's." And the way you pronounce the way you
so
say
good.
It, right? And you're just like, I just thought it was hilarious. Like, this guy has no idea. And the way everything settled, Adam Driver is great in this as well.
So good.
I really enjoy him in a lot of roles.
Is this movie gonna launch Denzel's son's career?
It could.
I thought he was
That's a
great in
shot.
it.
Yeah,
I
he was very good.
Yeah, Topher Grace was great in this movie.
Mhm.
That was close. It was a borderline movie. I'll give you a little spoiler. It didn't make my list, but it's in the honorable mentions.
Honorable
list.
mentions, fair enough.
I should tell you, I saw over in theaters this year 154 movies. This is my second biggest year for movies.
Damn.
Ever. 163 was my most 4 or 5 years ago.
That's when you had more free time. So the fact that you did it in this time, that's great.
Yeah, no, I love the movies, and I saw a lot of them. So making this list for me was tough. My number 9 movie is The Incredibles 2. I gotta be honest. When I heard that they were going to make a second Incredibles movie, I cringed a little bit. We're in this sequel happy world, and I'm like, oh god, they're gonna ruin a great movie. No, don't do it. Please don't make Top Gun 2. But I really like this movie. It started off right where the first one left off, even though it's made over a decade later. I love the role reversal between Elastigirl and the Mr. Incredible, right? So in the first movie, he's kind of doing the crime thing. She's staying at home, being the parent.
Care of the family.
In this movie, it's the opposite, right? I thought the kids did a great job. Oh, they were so funny. All three of them. Jack to me stole the show. Everything about him. Great ending. The real world aspects of what superheroes would be like, right? And that's one thing I really liked about this movie, that superheroes would not be liked. They would be seen as causing damage, or people would sue them for helping out.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I find that fascinating, and I thought they did a wonderful job with this movie. And if they decide to make a third one, I'm actually on board with it. I won't cringe too much.
Who knows? We'll see.
My number 8 movie of the year was Crazy Rich Asians. I'm a sucker for rom-coms. Those of you who know me know that I love a good romantic comedy, and Crazy Rich Asians does not disappoint. I love Constance Wu. I don't know if you watch Fresh Off the Boat. If you don't, you should watch it. She's hilarious in it. She is amazing. And I love when she finds out that he's rich, and it's priceless. She's written to be this professor. Her first scene is she's playing poker and reading things out, and she meets her boyfriend's mom, and this super rich person, and she's melts. I don't know what to do. It's just good. It's rich versus poor. I love Michelle Yeoh's character, this mother-in-law who was just given a hard time by her mother-in-law, and now she's giving her son's girlfriend, who's not quite what she expected, a hard time. The irony is great. There's humorous moments throughout it. I loved seeing Singapore and the culture of Singapore. It was fantastic. I really liked it.
I really want to visit Singapore. That's one of my top 10 places.
I really like it. And it makes me want to read the book. Anyway,
interesting.
On to you, number 8.
My number 8 is Bohemian Rhapsody. So I liked it for all the reasons you liked it. Really loved the music.
Isn't that a song from the 1970s? Shouldn't you keep updated to 2018?
Listen, you obviously been living under a rock, and you don't realize that there was a biopic made in November. So maybe you should stop living under a rock and pay attention to the times, grandfather. But yeah, really, I forgot my train of thought.
But yeah, really, all the things I said, because I'm brilliant and I say all great things.
So yeah, everything that he said, really, I never knew much about Queen. I just downloaded their music. Obviously, I knew about the whole AIDS thing and that he was gay, but literally, other than that, I didn't know much. I was just these musics are great, right? So I really got a better understanding. It makes me want to look more into the band Queen and see everything that they were about, right? I want to learn more about them. So anything that gets me to learn more, want to learn more and read after it, That's a good movie in my books.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you're making a history movie, it makes you want to be like, I need to know more. Absolutely fantastic.
That's always a good movie. Another movie that led me wanting for more, which is pretty funny that you said this, is I'm gonna say Vice. So Vice, really great movie, had a good introduction to the character, well, not character, to the real life person of Dick Cheney. Really liked how he analyzed things and the way his way he came up. Like a lot of the how do I say this? Oh, I'm at a loss for words. Let's just skip into a different part of it. But yeah, I really like the way he was portrayed. Another interesting aspect of this movie for me was the fact that the way he just sat, observed, and waited for his right time, and the way I feel like Bush was just, George Bush, he was just ripe for the taking, right? He didn't really pay attention to much. They really showed Bush as a idiot, and I thought it was just, as a child, I'm like, he can't be that dumb. The movie helps you realize that, yeah, he really was that dumb.
It makes me really want to know what he thought of the movie.
Yeah, George Bush.
Yeah.
that's what I want.
I'm actually one of the most interesting things. Mm-hmm. So my number 7 movie is Ralph Breaks the Internet. This is just Disney at its best. I love the Disney princesses. We did a lot of time on our first podcast talking about this movie and the Disney princesses. I love the message of the movie. I love the character Ralph, and I love his social issues. And this is one of the reasons I like Welcome to Marwen. I like this relatability that you can have towards Ralph. This fear, this self-worth, this ability to think that if you lose one person, if you stop talking to one person, that your life is over, and these fears are what we all live by, and I really related to it. And again, it's funny, it's great for kids, it's great for adults, it's amazing. And that is not my favorite kids movie of the year. My favorite kids movie of the year is my number 6 movie. It was also one of the first movies that came out this year. I go all the way back to January. Paddington 2.
Oh, Paddington 2, eh?
It came out in Britain technically in 2017, but it came out in the States in 2018. So in Canada. So we're gonna go with it coming out in 2018. And I gotta be honest, this gets my vote for the most adorable movie of the year. Paddington is amazing. Did you watch Paddington 2?
No, I didn't. He asked me, and I don't like Paddington.
You should, because
I said no.
This movie is a movie that every parent should take their kids to see. Paddington is a lovable character who makes everyone around him better. His family, his neighbors. When he went to prison in this movie, and he turned the hard-nosed criminals into good people. And that's the story isn't about reality. It's about being a good person, just seeing the good in people, being that glass half full person. It's humorous, it's funny, it's great for kids. It's how Paddington lives how we all should live. And at the end of that movie, I'm not gonna lie, my eyes teared up a little bit. I went to go see the movie with my buddy Haroon, and Haroon was like, "Why did you take me to this?" He's like tearing up because it's so good. It's gonna get you emotionally. It's a great movie. If you like emotional movies, go watch it. It's fantastic.
Okay, well, what number am I on?
You're 6. Your number 6 movie of 2018.
Okay, sorry, I forgot how to count, everybody. My number 6 movie is Incredibles 2. So I like it for all the reasons you like it, but one of the reasons I like it is just the message behind it, like the villain. I love movies where you question where the villain is like, is the villain right in this aspect? So, spoiler alert, one of the main motives of the villain is people's dependence on superheroes leaves them to be more vulnerable. They don't help themselves, right? They don't grow from themselves, right? So her thing is to try to get people to not value superheroes, so they start thinking for themselves, start doing things on their own, right? The reason being is we find out it's for personal reasons, but still, I always like to think, I find sometimes I like to think a lot of people rely on support than actually when they have a problem trying to do it themselves at first. Which is no problem. You can rely on support, but sometimes I feel some people rely on support a little too much, which is just my opinion. So that's why it just speaks to me a little bit more, where I'm like, oh, I can see where the villain's coming from on this point. Right?
That's what makes a good movie.
Mm-hmm. So, my number 5 movie is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So, everybody knows that Spider-Man is the best superhero.
Except for
this
me.
is my law. This is the law. Everybody knows this, and it's the rule. But just to see Spider-Man done so well in a different kind of animation, we're so used to animation being as realistic as possible or cartoonish. This one was a comic book style, right? And I really liked the animation. Well, some parts of the animation, some parts I didn't like. I really liked the story. It had 6 origin stories, which is not really... It's very hard to do at the time, but they were able to do it quickly and funly. Plus, this is a nice little Spider-Man adventure, right? It's a coming of it. I like the arc that Peter Parker takes. I like the arc that Miles takes. So you can feel a lot for the characters, and I really feel something for all of the characters. You can really look into them and see, like, oh, hey, like I understand why he's feeling this pain. Like it's just so great. Plus the speech between the dad, like the relationship between the dad and the son was just so amazing. It just touched my heart. Not like Christmas movies.
What did you... I'm having a hard time remembering. What did you give the movie out of 10? What was your rating for it?
I think I gave it... I forget.
I thought it was an 8.5.
Yeah.
That is your number 5 movie of the year, 8.5. You only gave 4 like 9 pluses?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm surprised by that. I didn't expect Spider-Man to be on there because you only gave it an 8.5. Like, I gave Vice an 8.5, and again, spoiler, it didn't make my list. Like, all these movies are 9 pluses in my top 10. So I was just curious.
Okay. Yeah,
not criticizing. Like, if
No.
I always feel like you're an easier critic than I am, and here you go, only giving like 4 movies 9 pluses.
Yeah, you give 9s way more than me. Okay, you're the easier critic.
Well, apparently, eh? So my number 5 movie is Mission Impossible 6. You know what? I would have. This is a movie I did not see on opening night. I was in Europe this summer and I missed it. And this is a franchise that defies logic. It gets better and better with every movie. It's funny. Ghost Protocol is probably probably one of my favorite movies in general. And the idea of that movie was that we're gonna pass the torch from Tom Cruise onto Jeremy Renner because Tom Cruise can't carry a movie anymore.
Boy, were we wrong.
Then Tom Cruise started doing stunts. Well, he always did stunts, but he started doing crazy stunts like climbing the Burj Khalifa.
Yeah.
And in this movie, jumping out of a plane.
Is he trying to kill himself?
I don't think
what's
so.
wrong with this man?
But he's crazy, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Tom, if you ever want to listen to this podcast, and I hope you do one day, you're amazing, and I mean that. The details of the story, how they intertwine with other movies, the action sequences, they're all incredible. I love the jumping across buildings in London was fantastic, to the point where he broke his foot jumping through Europe, and they kept the scene in the movie. That's crazy. The writing of that movie is fantastic. I just love how they brought in the ex-wife back. It was such a great touch to the movie.
Great callback.
It was. I have nothing really negative to say about it. We're in my top 5, my top 6 movies were all 10 out of 10s in my opinion. And this is just one of them. It was a great movie. My number 4 movie of the year, Black Panther.
It's not your number 1. Wow, you're racist.
Yeah, that's not even funny. What I like about this movie, speaking of racism, is the black culture. I think that one of the big mistakes movies make with a lot of African American movies is making them too much about the past and making them more about civil rights. And I'm not saying that's not important. It's very important to learn about it. But black culture is so vital to history. You can look at it from ancient history. You can look at it from American history, right? It's African American that's pushing forward rock and roll, rhythm and blues, right? Like that's it's there. And we see in this movie, instead of making a movie about racial issues, they make a movie about a superhero, and they talk about the greatness of what black culture, or African culture in this case, can give you. The coronation scene, the challenge. I love that. That was one of the great scenes of the year for me. I love the character of T'Challa in general. The action sequences were good. I love the villain. Killmonger was a fantastic choice for that movie. I love the humor of the movie. Again, it's the Marvel stereotype of a movie, touch. But like the don't freeze. I never freeze. He froze, didn't he? So good. It's fantastic. It's well written. It's a movie that everyone should see. But not my favorite Marvel movie of the year.
Yeah, whatever.
Your number 4. Let's see if it's your number 1 Marvel movie.
Okay. All right, so another my number 4 movie is Mission Impossible. So literally,
you haven't won ahead of me.
Yeah, all the things that you've said about it. Henry Cavill was great in that. I don't know why you didn't. The one fight scene with Tom Cruise and Henry Cavill in the bathroom.
Oh my god,
phenomenal. That's probably, I think that might be the best fight scene of the year for me.
Oh, it could be.
It might be. I think it's up there if I have to think about it.
Almost every action sequence from it. In most other years, that movie would be number 1 on my list. Yeah. It just says how good of a year it was for movies.
100%.
And I'm talking about, I might want to move it up somehow, but when I talk about Black Panther, I want to move that back up. It's just, it's so complicated.
I know what you mean.
I thought about this for a while.
My number 3 movie is Ready Player One. It's funny because a lot of people are gonna hate this movie, but I didn't read the book. That was your first mistake, was reading. So that's your fault for not liking the movie. But I really enjoyed Ready Player One. It was just such a great little adventure. I had fun with it. The music was great. The nostalgia. A lot of people hate the pop culture references, but I was loving it. I'm just like, oh sweet. Well, look, there's a Gundam. Whoa. Oh, it's the Iron Giant. That's crazy. I just loved all that stuff. I'm a huge Giant Robot fan, if you can tell, right? So that's probably one of the real reasons why I liked it, maybe. Who knows? But yeah, I really felt it was a great story. Steven Spielberg still got the touch. A lot of people say he lost it, but I still think he has it for the most part. What about you?
My number 3 movie is Game Night. I found this to be like you. I found this to be the funniest movie of 2018, and I got to be honest. Rachel McAdams she seems to always play my dream girls. Like
Careful,
I go back to
girlfriend's watching.
That's okay. I'll tell her this to her face. Okay. But like in Morning Glory that she played, it's like one of my dream girls, and she does it again in this movie, and I just thought the premise was genius. Like you talk about, it's kind of in some ways like Escape Room, where like they have no idea that they're playing this game. They think it's all for fun, and it's not. It's
real.
I love how it was a game within a game, but it was actually real. I look at like the relationship and the chemistry between Patrick Bateman and Rachel McAdams was great from the very first scene, where they're like in their own teams. They're both really competitive. I'm competitive. I need to win at things, and like to take it to the next level.
Did you win Catan tonight?
Yeah, you know I am. We play games all the time.
Yeah, did you win Catan tonight?
No, I didn't.
Mike, answer the question. Yeah.
But I like the relationships not only between those two, but between all the couples, right? You had the one couple where, like, they've been high school sweethearts and they think they've only slept with each other. And we find out that she actually slept with another guy who was a celebrity when they were on a break. And he's trying to figure it out. And she's like, it's Denzel. And she's, like, losing it. He's like, oh, my God, Denzel. And she shows him a picture. And it's like, it wasn't Denzel.
That was great.
I like how like the dumb friend brings the smart person in because for this game night, and they end up getting together. I just like everything about the movie. I thought it was really, really well done. My number 2 movie of 2018 is Ready Player One.
Whoa!
And this is to me a fun movie. it's not the greatest thought-provoking movie. It doesn't have the greatest action sequences, but the movie is just fun. It's nostalgic. Xavier talked about all the references. It's a good old-fashioned action adventure. I personally think this is Spielberg's best movie, maybe since Saving Private Ryan.
Ooh,
I'm going back 2 decades.
damn!
I think this was great. I think it was fun. And you know what? I read the book, and to me, it needs to be different. Everything, like, I love the book. Everything the book does well, the movie couldn't do. And everything the movie did well, the book couldn't do. So they actually play off each other really nicely. The essence is there. It's fantastic. The final sequence, the race at the beginning in the DeLorean.
I love that
Oh
part.
my god. It's extremely enjoyable. I could watch it again and again. And to me, when I'm ranking movies, and if you look at these any movie in this top 10, you can watch it more than once. Ready Player One, you could watch it over and over and over again, and it gets better with every watching. And that is the mark of a great movie.
Yeah, that makes me want to put Ready Player One up a notch, but...
What's your
so
number 2? I'm
Number
curious to
two?
know what your number 2 is.
It's Black Panther.
Oh, I never would have guessed.
Black Panther is
So
my number
that
2.
means Infinity War didn't make your list then, because
Infinity War did. I told you the number 1 was the first 5 minutes of Bumblebee.
Sorry, tell us about Black Panther.
No problem. So yeah, Black Panther. Everything you said. A lot of like, I don't get this wrong, but a lot of black predominantly cast movies they always focus on like the negative aspects of like what happened to black culture, right? This one celebrates the positive aspects. This celebrates like African cultures at its finest, right? Like you said, the villain is great. This is another one movie where the villain, like, is the villain right? You know, it's I wouldn't take his way. It's a classic. I like it because you can see the symbolism between Killmonger, who's taking the Malcolm X approach to solving things, and T'Challa, who's taking the Martin Luther King to solve.
Yeah, great,
things, right?
great point.
That's what I really enjoyed as well, right? And both those ideologies clash, and then obviously because it's a good movie, the good side wins. But I like T'Challa more than Killmonger, anyways.
I also like MLK more than Malcolm X. So I mean, MLK is a hero.
Right? So
Great man.
So I really enjoyed that aspect, right? And just the whole celebrations, obviously classic Marvel movie. I did not expect it to be this. I was really excited for Black Panther because I think he's a great hero, great concept. Everything about him is awesome, right? But I didn't expect the movie to be as good as it was, which really surprised me. I had high expectations, but they went even above those expectations, which was great. And that brings me
To Bumblebee.
to my number 1 movie, which is the first 5 minutes of Bumblebee. Really enjoyed it. The nostalgia was great. I was in love with it. I saw Optimus at his best. Okay, I'm just joking. Everybody knows the number 1 movie for me is Avengers Infinity War, okay? This was 10 years in the making, right? It just made me so happy to see reading comic books. I'm a huge comic book nerd, and just seeing all the interaction between all the heroes, seeing them all introduced. This is what it was all for, and I can't believe it really went above my expectations. I did not expect it to go above my expectations, which was already really high. Just to see the little interactions between Tony Stark and Doctor Strange, or the interactions between Thor and the Guardians. That's what really, it's the little things that really made this movie over the top for me. Sure, big things happened, right? We all know, spoiler alert, about the snap, and Thanos was obviously a great villain. He's a great villain in the comics, and they did him justice. Josh Brolin played him perfectly to a T. If Thanos had a voice, that's the voice I'd probably think Thanos would sound like, right? Even then, just seeing those... Just the little interactions. That's what really did it for me. That's what I loved about the comics. I really liked the relationship between the heroes and everything like that. That's what I read the comics for. Obviously, I love the big events, but it's just the relationships that they have with each other and how they interact with each other. That's what always made it very interesting to me. What's your number 1 movie, Mike?
The first 5 minutes of Bumblebee. No, my number 1 movie is Infinity War, and you know it's not my favorite Marvel movie. in terms of like what I look for. But I'm gonna throw this. I don't throw this word around lightly. For those who know me, this is a perfect movie. It's perfect in every way, shape, and form. It really is. And they, the one thing I think Marvel does really good is it learns from past mistakes. It learns from what works. It learns from what didn't work. And in the first Avenger movie, they do a really good job focusing on Captain America and Iron Man, because those were their bread and butter superheroes. In the second Avengers, they kind of lost track of it. Hawkeye and Hulk tended to be the focal points. And this movie, they went back to what worked. We have three kind of story arcs going on. And you talked about the interaction, so I won't talk about them. But we have the Iron Man, who's kind of the leader of the stops Thanos story arc, right? We have Thor, who's like, we need to get this Thanos killing weapon, and he's in charge of that story arc. And then we have Captain America, who's the leader on Earth.
We're the defenders. We're defending the stone story arc.
So you have these three storylines with the three heroes that people are most familiar with at the helm.
Argumentatively.
Argumentatively, but I think it's fair. Well, who am I missing?
Spider-Man is the
Spider-Man,
most known
Spider-Man
superhero.
is being played in this universe as the apprentice to Tony Stark. Come on.
Fair enough. Okay.
And,
I'm just joking.
Yeah. But we also have Thanos. And Thanos, we talk about real villains. He is the realest of the real villains, right? You know, even talking to people like, he's right. We are using all of our resources, and, you know, he has a point, right? When you get on board with a villain, it's scary, and it's real, and it's something that we should definitely continue having. You know, he was well written. You know, he is so OP, but you don't never think, well, why doesn't he just kill everyone? Because that's not his MO, and he does it right at the beginning of the movie with the Hulk. He lets the Hulk get that first punch, and we see it. No, let him have his fun. He likes to toy with people. He likes to torment people. And this allows the audience to be like, okay, this is why he didn't kill all of the Avengers when he came to Earth, because that's not his MO. His MO is to play with them, to manipulate them, to let them think that they're going to be okay. And what really makes this movie great is right off the bat, you start at the edge of your seat and you never can sit down. You're always go, go, go. The first thing that happens is Thor dead. What happened to the Hulk? He just got beaten. How did the Hulk get beaten?
So easily, too.
And it ends with the snap.
Yeah.
And you don't need another movie. If you ended the Marvel Universe with that movie, sure, it would be like crazy, but it would be satisfying in some ways. That the last words were Captain America saying, "Oh God." Brilliant. A lot of times a movie like this is like you need the second part. When you watch the end of the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie, you need the third part. When you watch The Matrix Reloaded, you need The Matrix Revolution. You will not need Endgame. If Endgame is brutal, Infinity War will not be affected by it, because you can watch that by itself and be like, wow. So that is my number one movie of the year.
Oh, that's weird. That's wonderful. So you just copied me, and because my number one movie was Avengers: Infinity War, yours has to be Avengers: Infinity War.
It's true.
Okay.
Well, any honorable mentions you want to mention in yours?
Yeah, I'd like to. What's it called? I'll mention. So you had. What was the movie that you mentioned that I? Where's your list? Give me your list again. Ralph Breaks the Internet. I can't believe I forgot about it. Ralph Breaks the Internet has an honorable mention. Blockers was really close.
I like
And then
Blockers.
I remember I had Blockers on the list, but then I forgot I watched Bohemian Rhapsody. And then you talked about, like, oh yeah, that's the one I'm missing, right? It's pretty embarrassing, right?
Pretty embarrassing.
But yeah, so then I was like, yeah, let me take that out and put Bohemian Rhapsody right over there. But yeah, Blockers was up there as well.
BlacKkKlansman was borderline. Christopher Robin for me was borderline.
That's really
made me
good.
feel. And A Simple Favor. Those are probably the three that I was really kind of fighting with. But the top five, anyone could have been number one. Even the top six, even Paddington. I love it.
Yeah.
But the top
Yeah,
five are really special.
I feel the top 5, yeah, same for me.
Do you want to know before we end this what the craziest thing about 2019 is?
What?
Disney already won the box office. I want you to think about this. They've got Captain Marvel coming out. They've got Dumbo coming out. They've got Endgame coming out. They've got Aladdin coming out. They've got Spider-Man Homecoming 2 coming out. And they've got Toy Story 4
You forgot Lion King or Aladdin? Did you say
I said Aladdin.
Did you say
Is Lion King coming out this year too?
Yes.
Oh my
in
God.
July.
That is 7 movies.
And Star Wars.
Oh, and Star Wars.
At
Oh
the
my
end of the
God. 8 movies. They have every month already won. Like it's over. Like every other studio might be like, we're gonna pack it in this year.
Honestly, and if you look at the lineup,
And there's probably an animated movie that we're forgetting too.
Yeah,
because the animated is Pixar
movie.
technically.
Yeah, right.
They probably have an actual Disney animated movie somewhere in there too.
I'm not gonna lie, the lineup's not looking good aside from the Disney movies. To be honest, this year, looking up at the list.
Yeah, I know it. You think about there'll always be a surprise here.
Yeah, there's gonna be sleepers, so hopefully there's a lot of sleepers this year.
Yeah, well, we'll see. All right, well, that's it for us this week. Next week, tune in. We'll be talking about. We don't actually know completely what we're going to be talking about because the movie list hasn't officially come out to our theater. But we're looking at Replicas, The Upside, Bird Box, and we're going to go From the Vault next week. And we're going to get you ready for Glass by reviewing Unbreakable.
Yeah, and always don't forget to like, subscribe. We're on iTunes. We're on YouTube. Follow us at Rant on Reels. You can search us on iTunes that way as well. Follow me at Mr. Xavier Barnett and follow
Michael Fooch, even though I never post anything because I'm a loser.
Yeah, well, you're an idiot, but it's okay. We deal with it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But yes, be sure to like us on Instagram and be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes and Spotify because our podcast is definitely worth listening to. If you make it this far, you know it.
Yeah, 100%.
If you didn't make it this far, and be sure, please, to make comments. What list do you like better? Xavier's list or my list? Where did we go wrong? What movies did we forget? And be sure to criticize.
Marvel fanboys or Disney fanboys?
Well, not really, because I had A Wrinkle in Time as my worst movie. That was a Disney movie. So my best movie of the year is a Disney movie, and my worst movie of the year is a Disney movie. So I bookended it.
Sometimes
nicely.
They just drop a huge turd.
Yeah, exactly. It happens.
You never know if it's floats
it's not,
or not.
Hey, listen. It's not our fault that Disney makes good movies. It always have. Hopefully, always will.
Yes.
I could spend a lot of time talking about bad Disney animated movies. We could talk about Atlantis or Brother Bear or Bear.
That movie sucks.
Or I can't even think of a couple other ones now. But trust me, I can do some good Disney criticizing too. But as long as they're telling good stories, I'll love it.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you next week.
Happy New Year. See you guys next week.